tears of joy, they are sacred. The tears of sorrow, they are sacred. But it is the tears as we release them that set us free. We're freeing ourselves today from atrocity. That is what's going on. We are freeing ourselves. Every person in this building has been a victim one way or another. But this is a time for healing. This is a time now we can lift our hands to the Spirit and give thanks. Oh, ha shaksi ab. Atiara kuya kuya yus.
I feel the golden rule is such a mainstay for all of us to realize that we have so many changes in our world now. We must learn to be together, to share more, to say yes more. And that is really what we're looking to begin with, the Indigenous here today with Apology. But we'll move on to other races, to other refugees, to other veterans. There are a great many apologies to come.
The Golden Rule Day, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It welcomes an opportunity for us to truly forge connection between one another, to honestly know that our actions are not separate from ourselves and certainly not separate from others. There is no innocence in any of the things that we do in terms of community. So what impacts me impacts you. Therefore, I should be loving, I should seek justice, I should do things that allows for the relationship to flourish and grow, where health is enjoyed by all of us, not just myself.
My ancestors come from a great-grandmother from the Trail of Tears, and I find a tear in my heart always that has been buried, and I have been trying to uncover it, and you have helped. So thank you, and so sorry for your pain.
My name is Eric. I am Lulu Sami and Swedish by ancestry, and I apologize to the Monash.
I'm Jonathan Betzal. I'm of Ashkenazi Central European Jewish descent, but culturally I'm a Quaker. And we have a long history of supporting Native Americans, both culturally and in terms of treaty rights.
Beautiful.
I wanted to say, I see you, I'm sorry, and I'm dedicated to be as best I can every day and wake up and dedicate myself and say out loud that I want to work to be an anti-racist in everything I do, and commit myself in the work and challenge the people that I work around and I'm surrounded with to decolonize land, wealth, and the necessary shift that we have to have in order to live a just and loving life.
My name is Kirsten Harris Talley. On my father's side, I'm of African descent. We are people who are stolen from our lands. I do not know the cultures of my ancestors as deeply as I should.
This is absolutely a golden rule opportunity for us to do unto others, because we require apology and we should give it a profuse apology and mean it.
Okay. This is how we free ourselves. The tears set us free.
I think the best way to think about Indigenous law is that they are collaborative, reasoned processes that Indigenous peoples, our societies, managed ourselves through time. We were able to have intellectual resources through our stories. We were able to draw from those to solve problems, solve conflicts, and deal with all of the messiness which is created when human beings live together.
Law is what grounds us to the earth and those relationships we have with our territories, with the animals, with the plants.
Indigenous peoples were the first law keepers and law givers in this land. In Anishinaabemowin, which is the Indigenous language that I can speak from the Great Lakes area, we organize life in accordance with principles of Minnow B'Matazuin, which means to try to live well in the world.
For me, the large context that I like to think about for law is the set of stories that help us regulate ourselves and our relations with others.
In its best form, the way to think about law that's helpful is that it enables human dignity and agency and provides ways for people to challenge internal oppressions, internal power dynamics.
As we deliberate with one another, as we talk with one another, it's obvious that persuasion is needed at that point. Because you can't just do what you want. You have to do this as a group, as a community, as a collective of people. And part of that persuasion is understanding that it's not just what once was important to Indigenous peoples in their laws, it's what's important to us today. So for instance, concerns about gender have been sometimes neglected within Indigenous communities. And in order to be persuasive with our deliberations, we need to ensure that gender is taken account of in a way that doesn't stereotype, generalize, create vulnerabilities or power imbalances. So persuasion is always a present-oriented activity, which means that our traditions are living traditions.
The work that my grandmother's done, Dr. Ellen White, her name's Quilossalwit, she's done work all of her life sharing Coast Salish traditions with the outside world. But very early on she understood that it's an important part of the work is to help people know us. She took long, complicated, sophisticated adult stories and made them children's books. It's interesting because at Tsleil-Waututh, they just did their own environmental assessment of the Kinder Morgan project over in Vancouver. They said to the world, we're going to do our own environmental assessment in accordance with our own law. And they turned to a body of knowledge from the Coast Salish world, including my grandmother's stories, were part of the foundation that they used to articulate the Coast Salish legal principles.
What we're trying to look at is to use the Indigenous law, that whole piece about restoring relationships, about creating accountability, but also about creating restitution and creating peace back in that community once that individual returns. We need to do the work there. I need the Indigenous legal traditions and the laws to be able to spell out a bit of a plan. So I reach out to knowledge keepers, elders, hereditary leaders, to ask them what are the underlying principles here that need to be taken into consideration, that a Canadian judge can take, look at, and make sense of to find an alternative to prison time.
There's a Cherokee notion of Gadugi. No one person is left to struggle in life on their own. And if we're truly practicing Gadugi, we can't ignore or leave out anyone in our community. We have to understand how to live as a community again.
If you think of three concentric circles, there's the individual and the family and the community. And so at all times, Indigenous law can be the path to finding healing throughout those rings of those circles.
Who are we, right? Who is Canada? What's our proper relationship to each other and to territories, and how are we going to work together? The critical work that Indigenous law has in helping to answer those questions, it's never been more important.
I've been now reading Raven stories, and The world changes for me now when I am somewhere and a raven or a crow hops by on the edge. I start thinking how many raven stories I know and that they are pulled back into your mind. You start seeing law around you, reminding you of stories which remind you of obligations, of crises, of failures. The law lays itself on you in a very different, in a very rich way, in a way that connects you to the space around you. Law becomes visible.
So it's like Cree elder Louis Bird when he said, stories are for thinking. What do the stories make us think about, and how do they make us think?
We no longer hunt buffalo with a bow or live in teepees, but our roots of goodwill and honor remain. While fire purifies and allows new life to begin, water is cleansing and brings us nourishment. Coming from all directions, the wind provides movement. The powwow also has a purpose. Today we live in a culture of distraction. A place must be kept that pushes back against the distractions. A place that understands the culture because it embraces its individuals. The day comes to a close. Many thoughts run through my mind. I think the highest form of thought is gratitude. But silent gratitude isn't much use to anyone. So thank you to those who share this vision.
My name is Arvo Looking Horse. I'm Chief Arvo Looking Horse from Lakota Sioux Nation, and we're here on my reservation, the Cheyenne River Reservation in South Dakota. This is where the bundle has been for the last 100 years. I'm the keeper of the sacred pipe, 19th generation keeper of the sacred pipe. I was 12 years old when I received that bundle. we have a message for the world. We have many prophecies that goes with the white animals showing a sacred color, because that's the only way they can speak to us. When he told me that someday this white buffalo calf would stand upon the earth, since 1994, almost every year a white buffalo calf stood upon the earth. And she told the people that this is a blessing, but it's a warning. She said when the white animal is showing their sacred color, there's going to be some great changes. Earth changes, climate changes, and we're in those changes.
The elders are so important to hold the stories, hold the value, be the presence. What we are doing in this very project is wanting to collect elders such as yourself so that your voice of the land, of the water, can be heard. What else can we do?
It is very important for each community, mine also. Things that are very important to us are our culture, our language, and our lands. So it's very sad that my grandparents had the language beaten out of them by the federal government, and so therefore my grandparents weren't allowed to teach my parents the language. My parents didn't teach me the language, and believe it or not, today we are seeing a resurgence because of Talk Shablu's work. We are seeing the resurgence through the younger ones. And, that was her dream, I think, too. Of course, the language was preserved by her and her generation, but she had the foresight to see the need to train the next generation, and we are seeing that next generation of Lushootseed linguists in our community coming from the younger generation. It is just exciting to see that the not only her seed that she planted, but other elders that had the same concern as she did. She just took a step further. To be able to see this generation embracing that language is it just makes my heart feel so good.
I hope to be studying some myself.
I think the one thing that I would encourage people to do is fully understand historical trauma, fully understand how historical trauma has impacted our way of life. And so for the future generations that might have an opportunity to hear my words, we collectively need to destroy historical trauma one generation at a time.
Beautiful.
I think in closing, the message I want my people to truly understand is that we are not victims, we are survivors. And when you play the victim card, those that have done unspeakable things to you win. They're still winning. So it's part of the healing process to come full circle to understand that, I'm a survivor. Our people are survivors. We're still here. Every negative policy implemented by the federal government to try to eliminate us, exterminate us, to destroy us, to get rid of us, it has failed. We're still here. And so, in closing, I'd like our people to understand that, we are not victims anymore, we're survivors. We have to be thinking from that point of view that we're survivors, we're still here, we're going to still be here.
There's a beautiful strength in that, and the beauty that Talk Shablu spoke of, the beauty of one soul looking at another and doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you.
Hello everyone, we're here with Randy Cornelius on Golden Rule Day. He is representing the Oneida Nation and is a language archivist for the Oneida peoples. Randy, thank you for being here with us today. And I was just going to ask you, how do you implement the Golden Rule in your life and in your culture?
Okay. Joji lakto ne wagel ne died Vadalanha, de Hangota, Nium get some way ne, Randy Cornelius or Nium get or Swinige, Wagiskle Wagi, ne Wagit the Lord, Una Yodi Aga, ne Bagad Hunjot, Kali Dalum Kowan, ne Toknage, ne Bagad Hunjun and Oswinige Han and the Gadadi, ne Hagaguinigui. Ne swanigo la yandani ne jitna te ba ongle wono donse ne yunge da ne hoda ne tnuna da ko ni gwini ska ni gula ne jitnyo jitni ngwa ni gulu da hage ne hoda ne tnuda da ko ski gwini ga ne jitna te jitni ko le hoda ne de gono shuni ha ka ne ga jitna te suba wi ne suba ya dizo ne jitnyo jit ne la welo ne ni ngwa ni gulu da hage ne hoda ne tnuna da ko ni gwini ko ska na ko ha ko ikunen ha yubona te ni hage ne hoda ne tnuna da ko ski gwini ga ne jitnyo jit ne la welo ne suba ya dizo ne na twatele ne ga ne woni sla de ne hoda ne tnuna da ko ski gwini ga ne jitna de ne ba ke le ne to kan ni de ko mana ke ne na ga tala ko ne tnuni ni ule wage nda tuni du hak ne ni bo ni ko. Well, I wanted to thank you for inviting me, and the first thing I wanted to do was just to introduce myself in my language, the Oneida language. The Oneidas are part of a linguistic group of nations they call the Iroquois, and in our language we call ourselves the people of the Longhouse. My real name is Dehahungot, and that means there's two paths that I'm going through, and it's kind of a reflection of my life, living in these two worlds, trying to incorporate our ways into today's society. And I'm from the Bear Clan. There's 3 clans of the Oneida Nation, the wolf, the turtle, and the bear. And there's 3 distinct families within each, so there's 9 distinct families that originally comprised the Oneida Nation. And I live here. This is my nation, the Oneida Nation. I live here in this community here on the Oneida Nation Reservation. And I wanted to share a little bit about some of the teachings that was given to our people, and about how we're to be as humans and how to treat each other as human beings, and most importantly our mother, the earth, and all the things that the Creator has provided for us. And so I wanted to share a little bit about that, but I have to speak English so that we can have that same understanding, that have that one mind of how we're to be as human beings. And so when we talk about how we to treat one another, one of the very first teachings that the Creator gave to our people, what we call Sungwayat Dizu in our language, the Creator, He's the one who created us. And when we really look at that word from a cultural perspective, it's just not like the Creator or God or higher power. There's a whole lot that's inside of there, because it has to do with the physical beings that we are, the spiritual beings that we are, the intellectual beings that we are, and the emotional beings that we are. And He's the one who did that to us. He's the one who created us. And when I say us, it's just not the people that I'm speaking to. It's everything that Sungwayat Dizu created. That's us. Because what we believe, the way that we are told, is that creation is our family. And there's all kinds of relationships that we have with her. The earth is our mother, because that's where all of life comes from. It originated from her. And everything upon her that the Creator put here for us, it has the same spirit that we have, no different. It has a purpose for being here, just as we do. And that in our teachings it tells us that we're to always respect that. And to always have that relationship with it, a very respectful relationship. Because it's no different than your mom, your dad, your grandpa or grandma, your brothers or sisters, your aunts and uncles. The things in the natural world, we have that same relationship. And so when we carry ourselves in that way, there's protocols that we talk about in terms of when we harvest the things, that the Creator provided, the sustenance, we call it junhekwa. It's the things that's necessary for us to live. And that's all those things out there that the Creator provided for us, the human beings, in order for us to have a life, in order for us to live. And so when we honor those things and we acknowledge those things before we take that, whatever that is, maybe it's a plant from the plant world, the water world, the animal world, the winged world, it's that we were taught that there's a way of going about doing that, and this is where our native tobacco comes in.
We are 13 Indigenous grandmothers. We gathered from the 4 directions from the Amazon rainforest. The vast plains of North America, the Arctic Circle, the Black Hills of South Dakota, the Great Forest of the American Northwest, the highlands of Central America, The mountains of Mexico. The desert of the American Southwest. The mountains of Tibet. And from the rainforest of West Africa. We have been brought together by a common vision to form a new global alliance. We are the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. Ours is an alliance of prayer, education, and healing for our Mother Earth, all her inhabitants, all the children, and for the next 7 generations to come.
Hi, this is Kate Trinka. I am here with Grandmother Flor de Mayo, and happy Golden Rule Day, everyone. I want to just really thank you for being here, and I'm so honored for your presence on today's special day. Can I ask you, how do you implement the Golden Rule in your everyday work?
In my everyday work, I was taught curanderismo. This is where I come from as a child. I'm Central American born and raised. I was born in between Nicaragua and Honduras in the northern part. I come from that area. Curanderismo is a way of life and a way of having a connection with God and all of its of the elements. Curanderismo came about in the last 500 years when the Spaniards came with Catholicism into the Americas, and curanderismo is thriving right now all over the world, but in those days it was centered between Mexico, Central America, and South America. And curanderismo, the roots of curanderismo come from Catholicism, indigenous tradition, and also African tradition. So this is the whole how the basic teachings came about. One of the things that we are told as we are studying is that for ourselves, in order for us to become those people of prayer, in order for us to become those people of perhaps maybe we are doing massage, we're doing bone setting, we are making herbal products, that we first have to work on ourselves. So this is the whole beginning. And so whether you are taught by your beloved parents, mother, father, grandmother, grandfather in the house, brothers, older brothers and sisters, you have this basic teaching of how is it that you treat yourself? How is it that you take care of yourself? And without doing this first, you cannot come out any further than your home without working on yourself first. So it starts with yourself, and then it starts with the folks in your house, in your family, in your home, your extended family. That would be aunties, aunts and uncles, cousins, second cousins, that whole circle of extended family. And not until you really, really make an effort of having a good relationship of respect and honor can you be accepted to go out and bring these teachings. And these are the first things that we talk about. So I would say from the beginning, we are taught that we have to honor ourselves and respect ourselves, and then look into see how is it that we are honoring and respecting all of life that is in front of us. And so we go into teachings of the sacred elements and our responsibility as humans, because we have this way of thinking, and we also have the heart that can tell us, you know, is this the right thing or is this not the right thing? We always get physical messages when we are involved in something that is incorrect. And so we're constantly reminded, you know, what is it? What is your heart telling you? Is this right? You know, it's a constant check balance, you know, between yourself and all of nature. You know, I want to be a child of the heavens and the earth. I want to be a child. This is like re-acknowledging that we want to be a human, a true human that is in balance with all of the elements. We have to reaffirm and reconfirm and keep saying to ourselves, I'm a child of God. I'm a child of the divine goddess. I am totally divine. Everything that's around me, I pray for. And we call on the beloved grandmothers of the four directions to help us, because we're humans. And what we want to do is take this energy and this thought and these intentions, and we want to spread them. But we can't consolidate it in just right here. We have to expand it, because there's such a thing as other worlds. And we are part of these other worlds. And this is who our true nature is. We are part of all that there is, all of the beauty that is around us. And so when we pray, we say, beloved mother. What that translates to my heart is that essence that gives life. Mother, Father, it's that essence that comes together to bring life. Mother, Father, creator. They come together and they create. Maker, they make. Maker of all the beauty that is around us. Because we as humans have been given these eyes so that we could look around us and say, wow. And in the midst of wow, saying thank you. I am existing at this very moment with all of this beauty, all of this beauty. Because of the cosmic mother and father came together and created everything, the heavens and the earth, to remind them that the earth, and for us as humans to be walking on the earth, we should give the respect and the honor that the earth deserves, because the earth is constantly speaking to us humans through these natural things that happened. And so the earth comes to us and reminds us that if we don't have that balance, we're putting ourselves in a place of disaster, because she is going to shake anything that does not belong there. And her mountains and her valleys, her oceans and her rivers are going to run. And she is going to do whatever that it needs to be done to preserve and to change. So we have to be very good listeners. So we talk about these things. So we all have a responsibility. And it's not about one person. It's not about one nation. It's not about one people. It's not about nothing one. It's about all of us coming together. It's our responsibility as each human being. If we could learn anything in our lifetimes, is how is it that we become a better human? And in order for us to become a better human is to have the respect. And to try to do something in our lifetimes to help, so that when we move on and we leave this physical body and the next generation takes over, they have these footprints to follow. And it doesn't matter in what language you express it. It's like prayer. We could see it when someone has respect for the sacred elements. Nobody has to translate that. We could see the actions. So we have to get into this place of all of us speaking the language of doing. Be in that action. What is it that we are doing for the betterment of everything that is around us?
Thank you so much, Grandmother. We are so appreciative of your time and your teaching, and how fitting it is for the special day that we call Golden Rule Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you.
this is where the strength of the feeling begins, is in the beautiful sound of the language that comes from the earth itself. And the sounds do indeed come from the earth because they're recognized by those people who have the ears to hear. The sounds that can be heard in my language indeed are sounds that come from the earth itself and what the earth represents. And so if I were to say to you, Su Halil Quis Ushabat Asitavi Uibash Atya Swatu Su Halil Algo Alquitus Hydus Quigwas Tia was Asitavi Hutch Tia was Asitavi Petit Gusub Tulakwi Haha Tia Book Stab Tua Sabarab Adibas Asitavi Tulakwi Haha Tia was Dibas Asitavi Yahi Tulat Tia Swatit Tia Book Stab. I have just said the things that we represent are teachings that come from the Spirit, that come from the earth, that are recognized as messages that live with us because we have been gifted with ears that can hear the sounds of the earth. That's why our language represents exactly that. The sounds that come from the earth give us hope that because we can hear the sounds of the earth and the messages that come from it in a very gentle, loving way, that the rest of the world can listen to their earth and know that when they are able, the Spirit will allow them to also hear the messages that the earth is saying, the messages that the earth is speaking to each individual who has the capacity to hear. When they are able, the Spirit will allow them to also hear the messages that the earth is saying, the messages that the earth is speaking to each individual who has the capacity to hear. And sometimes it takes a lot of patient, very deep listening to encourage the Spirit to allow individuals to hear what it has to say. But it is something that can be done, something that has been done by the first people of this land, the Lushootseed people, because they have spent centuries listening to what the earth has to say to us. One of the best things that you can do with your life from the day you're born is to learn how to listen. Learn how to listen. Listen to silence, listen to sound, listen to the things that are part of your world, wherever you are. Learn how to listen. That's my only truly big assignment for each one of you. Don't ask me how, just learn how to listen. There's something bigger than you that exists, that is not explainable, is not recognizable. It is felt only. It is felt. It's not seen, it's not heard. It's felt. So we have a big job to do, world. We have a big job to do.
million indigenous people in this world. Every group is entitled to their own way of life, traditional lands, and resources. Yet throughout history, their rights have been violated. Most, if not all, groups share similar incidents such as land claim issues, poverty, discrimination, endangered culture and/or language. Indigenous people have been persistent in trying to conserve the customs and traditions that have formed their culture and identity. The Maori are one of the few groups to resist and be successful in sustaining their traditions. These people are not what you'd call passive-aggressive. The Maori political activists have risen against many problems in history, such as the Maori land rights movement, brown power, anti-racist movement, and so on. The Maori people have been indigenous to New Zealand since the 13th century, and to this day there are still approximately 250,000 individuals. Maori, meaning the local people, or the original people, comes from the language Maritanga. The language is a prominent part of their culture, particularly in the oral traditions such as legends, historical events, and the haka. The haka is one of the most recognized traditions of the Maori. It is the war dance. Haka was originally performed before war. It is performed in modern society by the All Blacks New Zealand rugby team before every game. Other traditions have also remained strong, such as porphyry, a traditional Maori welcome. This involves pressing noses as opposed to a kiss. In an effort to preserve their identity, there are a higher number of Maoris who are receiving their moko, a traditional practice of facial tattoos. The design for Maori men include a whole face, while females are restricted to the chin area, the upper lip, and the nostrils. The Korean Maori people are similar in that they worship many gods, goddesses, and spirits. Through stories and songs, these indigenous groups have shared the past, explained creation, or aimed to instruct. Stories were often used to teach and even discipline children. Using characters in a story, an elder could show the child repercussions of foolish behavior or make a child feel guilty. It seems a shame that a culture full of such rich traditions is in jeopardy, along with many other cultures. The repercussions of historical globalization still continue today, as indigenous people resist imperialism. The private ownership of lands, resources for profit only continues. When the colonists came to New Zealand, the Maori ancestors resisted colonization of their traditional lands and lifestyle. By doing this, they created a legacy that would be passionately followed by later generations. When the ancestors resisted colonization, they did not stop it, but they prolonged its effects and made themselves a stronger community. To this day, the Maori people are relentlessly standing strong with their culture. As I mentioned before, the activist group is ready to fight for any injustices towards their people. Being Canadian, I feel it is important to respond to these historical legacies, because they are not only affecting the Indigenous people negatively, but they are affecting us and our way of life. The Indigenous people in Canada were here long before Europeans arrived, but I think, Indigenous or not, we all have something to learn from each other.
Bye, Renee!
Aloha mai kako. I'm Kaipoi Kialing. I'm here to explain why there is a large language difference between our kupunas and our mo'opunas. Historically, after the illegal overthrow of the Hawaiian Kingdom in 1893, a law was enacted in 1898 that banned Hawaiian language as a language of medium education in the public school system. And so after that ban was put into effect, our elders who spoke Hawaiian in school were either humiliated, beaten, or often their teachers would go to their homes and their parents were told not to speak Hawaiian to their children in order for them to succeed in the new world and in the new ways. Hawaiian language should be diminished as English should increase. So in lots of families, stories I hear that only the kupunas would then talk to each other in Hawaiian, and their children, the makuat, who will become later, were often left out in that dialogue and conversation because they listened to the advice of those teachers. It wasn't until after statehood in 1959, and then in 1978, there was a state constitutional convention which made Hawaiian and English dual language of the state of Hawaii. So it wasn't until the late 80s, early 90s that some Hawaiian language educational teachers pushed to have Hawaiian reinstated back into the Department of Education as a way for the state to help bring back Hawaiian language, and it was their duty to support native language and culture. Yeah, and so the reason why these families pushed for Hawaiian to come back, because when you learn another language or you learn your own language, it opens another door, another way for you to look at the world. But also, this is the only place in the world where Hawaiian is the home language. Olelo Hawaii was the language of everything, of commerce, of banks, in the courthouse, made the laws. All before that law in 1888, everyone spoke Hawaiian. And so there's a couple proverbs that come to mind. Iko olelo no keola, iko olelo no kamake, which means in life there's language, and in death there's language too. What's most valuable about Olelo Hawaii is the No'ono Hawaii, or Hawaiian thought and thinking, which is slowly diminishing too. When you lose a language, you lose the Hawaiian thought process, and you lose an indigenous way of looking at the world that can only be found here. Yeah. So when we stop speaking the language, then death. But when we try as much as we can, also life. And so there's one more I want to finish with, and it's called Inu Kawai Ele Ele. And this makes reference, Inu Kawai Ele Ele Akapoe Ike, drink the black waters of the learned people. And this is in reference to the newspaper movement from the 1830s all the way up to 1940s, where we had over 125 Hawaiian language newspapers. If you take all those newsprints and you put them on 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper today, you have over 1 million pages of Hawaiian language printed that still has not been totally all read yet. And so I call that the national treasure. And so that's a source for us today to go back and tap into what they were saying back then, because they were writing down all of their manao for us to capture now, because it's still relevant to what we're doing today. So with that then, ho'omau ka olelo, e ho'omau ka no'ono'o, e ho'omau na mea Hawaii. Mahalo.
Our homeland is a place of fortune. Words from an ancient language drifting across the highlands of Taiwan. But it's a song that could soon fall silent. It's thought less than 10 fluent speakers of the Kanaka-Navu language are still alive. The ancestors of these Aboriginal tribes developed a culture and language in Taiwan about 8,000 years before the Han Chinese began to settle there in large numbers. Experts believe that Taiwan is the ancestral cradle of a language family that spreads from Madagascar across Southeast Asia to the Pacific Islands.
这14个语言是这个整个南岛语系的一个根头。那当然我们很重要，因为我们是这些根头啊。那这些根头每一个语言都值得我们去做的，没有一个语言事实上是我们应该遗漏的。教授。
Sung Lee Mei is leading a campaign by the National Taiwan University to record and catalogue some of the 25 Aboriginal dialects still in existence before it's too late.
我讲的再更流利一点的话，基本上是70岁以上的老人家只剩下5-6个。那换句话说，我们如果再不急迫的把他们的这些所谓的故事传说，还有他们的迁移史。这些所有的口述的东西加以保存、加以录音的话，我想这些老人家一旦凋零过后，这些语言在后面的年轻人已经无法传承了。
The 2011 movie Warriors of the Rainbow recounts the rebellion of a local tribe against Japanese occupiers in the 1930s. This account of heroic resistance has helped inspire a new interest in Aboriginal history and language across all of Taiwan's cultural communities. Pride in the past reborn and embraced. These children are part of a language immersion program, learning language and song at kindergarten through to primary school. Trying to rekindle traditions of the past to secure a future for this rich and unique culture, so that the sounds of which may continue to resonate throughout the mountains of this homeland, a place of fortune. Tui Polo, Evan Charlton, NITV News.
I've done lots of polar traveling both in Antarctica and in the Arctic, and my favorite thing about the Arctic is a spirit that you feel that you don't necessarily feel in Antarctica, where there isn't a culture or a history. Up here, it's very different because there are people here that have lived here for a lot longer than anybody else in North America. And it's that spirit that you feel when you're traveling on these waters.
Hi, welcome to Joe Haven.
Joe Haven's called Joe Haven because of Roald Amundsen's boat, which was called the Joe. When Roald Amundsen first was trying to sail through the Northwest Passage in the early 1900s, he spent 2 winters, he overwintered in Joe Haven twice, conducting research and learning from the Inuit about just how to stay alive in the Arctic.
Nunavut is authentic Arctic. It's got a culture that is still thriving, where people learn Inuktitut as their very first language. It's the only place where you can get the real experience. They live with the wildlife, they live on the land, and we're very lucky to have it here in Canada.
There is a lot of superstition and respect for hunting and fishing, in the sense that you must have respect for what you're harvesting, what you're collecting, what you're taking from the land. If not, you're bound to come across some misfortune. Even with all the use of snowmobiles or rifles or GPSs, Inuit still feel like that. They still need to listen to what nature is saying and obey what it says.
Since the creation of Nunavut, I can say I think they feel better because the Nunavut is a way for them to keep a part of their culture and they know where they are going.
As we're on the air tonight, a dramatic final showdown over the Dakota pipeline in North Dakota. In fact, pictures coming in just moments ago, police moving in right there to make their arrests.
Standing Rock wasn't a protest, it was a prayer. And that's the thing, is we are protectors, not protesters. Hello, my name is Alethea Phillips. I'm from the Omaha tribe of Nebraska. Going out to Standing Rock and hearing about it and hearing that, it's really a youth-led movement and thinking, these other people out here aren't really that much older than I am. And going out there and seeing youth leadership and what that means. And I think everyone there, whether they're youth or they have youth in mind for why we're doing this, is kind of what it really meant, and to kind of look to the younger generation as people who want change and are willing to make change happen. For me, it just really felt like that's where I needed to be. It's what I need to be doing. Youth, I think, see it more as their responsibility to be involved. During that time, I knew I was absolutely going to be, there to the end. And I looked at my dad and I told him, I said, hey, I'm going back over there. And I went back and I did fully intend to be arrested that day.
I am the Executive Director of Native Youth Alliance. Alethea Phillips is the Youth Coordinator and backbone of Native Youth Alliance.
So Native Youth Alliance started out as my father's nonprofit organization, and he did several things for a couple of years, working on the Indian Child Welfare Act, setting up teepees on the mall, working in Washington, D.C. But right now we focus on teaching the next generation the culture and the importances, and then also working on things like environmental problems to make sure that, we all have clean air and water to drink.
In our indigenous ways, we believe that what we do today affects 7 generations from now. This vision, it's her right to step in here and help lead.
So kind of during the breakdown period of Standing Rock, there was some people who came who were taking all the flags down, and we said, hey, our flag's in there. And he said, well, if you can find your flag, you can have it. And so we pointed it out and we knew just the colors, and we're like, we don't need to look around, it's that one right there. And we're going to be bringing the flag back to the Omaha people this year, and we'll be returning it to the tribe. And so yeah, we're really hoping that it brings a sense of pride back to the Omaha people. The Omahas are also facing the Keystone XL pipeline, and kind of bringing back that as support there as well. This is going to be our world. It is the unification of the indigenous people from all across the country that is going to make the impact. It is us. And this is the climate, this is the economy, this is the society that we're
being brought into.
Oho, Liliwange.
And because it's not just for us, it's for our children, and it's for the earth itself. Ushimaka, Mother Earth.
Students began the process by reading and exploring various media sources. They engaged in analytical discussions about social justice, their identity, and the actions of change agents both in their community and in the world. Through reading, analysis, discussions, and reflections, students further developed their critique of a number of social justice movements and further cultivated their critical consciousness. After taking part in these reflections, students were introduced to Design for Change, Gandhi, and the spirit of being the change. Building off their own knowledge about activism, they began brainstorming the beauty and challenges of their community. This led to a critique of the roots of the challenges and possible solutions. The challenge that students felt most deeply was the high rate of dropouts from their school. They imagined this challenge could be most impacted starting from a very young age. They also know that it was in their power to create time and space for children to connect with one another, play, and feel valued in the school setting. They proposed an event that would host families and provide opportunities to do just that. Before a school-sponsored parent night, the students prepared stations of activities for the youth. Students worked with the youth to create an encampment of traditional Plains Indians teepees. Students worked together to both plan and facilitate the event. They used their identified strengths, including design, planning, building, connections, instructing, to create the plans and to promote the event, and of course, to ensure all of the participants felt welcomed. Students were able to share their process, proposal, and project with their parents and families and other community members. In the words of one of the teachers, part of giving back is coming back. These students changed their school and their community to make it one they want to come back to. For that, they are the winners of Design for Change USA 2013.
Why is one man rich and another man poor? Why we ain't satisfied? Why we gotta have more? Why your suicide rates on the rest so high? Why I tell you the truth but you say don't lie? Why is being a good father at an all-time low? Why is it acceptable? Yo, why I don't know. Why she blame him and he blame her? It's useless. Ask yourself this question. Why you making excuses? Why do parents gotta bury their kids? Why we text and drive, not caring how scary it is? Why it's so hard to forgive and leave the past behind? And if you did, then that's divine. Why don't you help your brother when you see him fall? Why do we act like God don't see it all? Why do we call them black, them white, them Asians and use labels? Now that's racism. I don't wanna Hawaii. I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii. I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii. I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii. I don't wanna Hawaii. Why is there innocent people locked up for life, while some people can't say nothing nice? Why do we always gotta question what all of it means? And why won't you follow your dreams? Tell me why. The night when you took my dad, why'd you let me see my grandpa cry? And tell me why. And why do you choose to hide, even though you was born to fly? And tell me why. And why don't we turn from all the hate? And why don't we learn from all mistakes? Why do I keep on wrecking these fat beats? And teachers don't make more than professional athletes. And why? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why? I don't wanna Hawaii. I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii. I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii. I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii. I don't wanna Hawaii. Why?
We are proud to present to you Nuijanan, a Cree word meaning we live here, and its main focus is providing artistic enrichment through educational scenarios in First Nations communities and schools. Before we show you where we are at, let's show you where we've been. The Nuijanan Tour was established in 2014, which brought a mobile music recording studio into the Cree Nation of Quebec. The goal of the tour was to seek out the musically talented First Nations youth. After 1 month, 70 aspiring Cree rappers, singers, and musicians put forth 19 original songs, which skyrocketed to the top of the iTunes charts in the hip-hop category following its release. The follow-up to this project was the establishment of a music label, signing and developing 2 musical projects, Miriam and the North Stars. Miriam's album went on to win Best Pop Album in 2017 at the Indigenous Music Awards. Following the success of the first album, Nuijanan was invited to First Nation communities and schools all across the map. Between 2014 and 2018, Nuijanan has produced and released 8 full-length albums, 40 music video projects, and has worked with over 600 First Nations youth. All projects highlight collective Indigenous voice and the diverse languages and landscapes within each respective community. The music videos have garnered over 15 million views on YouTube and Facebook and have received praise and recognition from the likes of the Prime Minister, Cindy Blackstock, Van Jones, Peter Mansbridge, Classified, and have even been implemented into university and high school curriculum as educational tools. The excitement for these projects have been so overwhelming that we've received coverage from all major media outlets. Furthermore, some of our groups have been invited to perform in other First Nation community events, have rocked out sold-out concerts, and have even shared the stage with some of the world's most recognized artists. These opportunities are only made possible with the creative talents and stories of our First Nations youth. Let's hear about their experiences.
Doing the songwriting and the video just really distracted me, and I noticed that I was happy without having to use something.
I learned that anything's possible as long as you believe. I learned how to open up my eyes and see everything differently, and now I push myself to things that I don't really want to do, and it's actually really helpful.
The best part was singing, definitely. It got out of my comfort zone, and yeah, I used to be really, really shy. And the biggest change in myself is that I'm being myself in public now. Yeah, my true self.
But yeah, I was shocked. I was really happy and proud of my friends and my family in the group that really kind of supported us and made this thing happen. It's giving us the opportunity, youth and Indigenous people, a voice and giving us a shot to kind of take it to the next level.
As Nui Jinan continues to tour into more communities, we've begun the process of offering our integrative arts program, which brings professional Indigenous and non-Indigenous artists into schools and communities all year long, giving students access to artists of all disciplines, such as visual artists, printmakers, photographers, filmmakers, spoken word poets, musicians, actors, authors, and dancers. The arts program is created in collaboration with the schools and communities so that we cater to the interests and goals of our partners. We believe in the power of collective artistic process and have seen some of the most beautiful community projects emerge through the students in our program. But the pride and joy doesn't stop there. At the end of every year, all our programming culminates into the Nui Jinan Festival and Youth Conference. This massive event brings together hundreds of our Nui Jinan youth to exchange, share, and celebrate their accomplishments as one community. The Youth Conference gives all of our participants access to inspirational keynotes and performers, artistic workshops, sharing circles, performance opportunities, and a year-end celebration that will carry them into the next school year. Our goal is to nurture a sense of belonging and showcase the creative competencies that have been waiting to be celebrated. Do you believe creativity needs to be encouraged? Do you believe that our youth are the inspiration? Nui Jinan, arts programming for the new generation.
This is a place where we love the land. Let's work to show our pride. Keep us safe, keep us free, like it used to be. Don't wanna be tied down. We find love where we're from and beat against the drums. It's a beautiful sound.
From the ground up, we'll find the path home. Feel pulled by the sun, wish I can go. We learn from the past, now we can grow. We're promised a chance that the plans show. Go big, go far, though I know limits. I wanna see change, so my soul lives it. They cut down the trees, while we blow kisses. Defend our home while they dismiss us.
It feels like home to me. It feels like home to me. Sometimes it's hard to find the words to say home to me.
scars from the past. Rise from the ruins, keep protecting the land. Don't take it for granted, can't neglect what we have. Stand together as a nation, express what we feel. True conversation, address what is real. Connected to the land, we are one with each other. This is our home to discover. Gotta stay on point like the fastest arrow. Bring hope to the people of grassy narrows. One piece in the land, can't go back to battles. Eighth fire in action, casting shadows. From old to the new, let us show you the truth. Light up the path, there's a glow in the youth. Buju to the world, this is where we live. So let the journey begin.